Hi guys, non-stop recaps here. Today I will recap a movie called Teeth. Spoiler alert. The beginning of the film shows a family that has two children, whose brother is named Brian and his sister named Dawn. At that time Brian tried to show his to Dawn, then Brian also asked Dawn to show Dawn pubic. And when Brian tried to touch her he immediately screamed in pain and his finger began to bleed. Long story short, it is currently seen that Dawn is an adult and at that time she was speaking in front of many people. It looks like Dawn is one of the speakers of a sex education community. Then she makes a promise that after marriage and they promise to do so. Dawn then meets someone named Toby. They looked at each other and they seemed to have more feelings. Dawn went home cheerfully and met her parents. At that time his mother was sick and when they were good to tell a story suddenly heard the sound of loud music, which turned out to be her sister Dawn. They also lived the days with a lot of difference. Very inversely proportional to his brother. Long story short, at Dawn's school is discussing the reproductive system. After studying the reproductive system, they move the material to the female genitals but all the images of the female genitalia in my mother had been pasted stickers so as not to be too visible. After school, Dawn, Toby and two friends go to see the cinema. When they both look back at each other, Dawn and Toby are starting to like each other. After that the four of them go to a very beautiful lake and have a cave that is fed by a waterfall. Dawn and Toby are seen chatting together and after that they go home. At night, Dawn sleeps while writhing. She also imagines herself marrying Toby and having sex, but when Dawn will put her finger into her underwear, she regains consciousness of her promise to her. The next day, Dawn is seen calling Toby and at that time Dawn said that she no longer wants to meet or play together again because Dawn is very afraid if later she becomes really in love with Toby. Toby's heart strongly agreed with Dawn's decision. Long story short, when at Dawn's house heard her brother who was having sex with his girlfriend in the room. After he finished he came back to Brian to talk about his relationship with his girlfriend. Dawn tries to persuade her brother to change but her efforts are only in vain and here Brian invites Dawn to have sex. Dawn was upset and she went straight back to her room. The day, Dawn was very bored, then she began to invite Toby to swim in the lake yesterday. They were swimming in the lake. Then they began to become close. At first they started kissing. Then after that Dawn went straight to the cave that was in the lake. There he got a mattress and a blanket. Then Toby kisses him again but at that time Dawn immediately invites Toby to return home because he is afraid of unwanted things happening. But at that time Toby instead restrained him and he also immediately raped Dawn. When Toby managed to have intercourse with Dawn, but suddenly she screamed in pain because she saw her genitals had been cut off and covered in blood. Toby became very frightened at that time, then he immediately left the cave. Dawn was also shocked because she didn't know anything. Long story short, Dawn thought about it and often daydreamed because she was no longer a virgin. She also became shocked because of past events. One day Dawn is back as a speaker at her show but she keeps thinking about it. He just kept quiet and suddenly a friend named Ryan came. Then Dawn asks him to take her home. When he got home Ryan tried to ask Dawn out on a date but Dawn instead left him. Yes, maybe he was still traumatized by the incident. Long story short, Dawn visited the lake. He still looks at Toby's car and checks the caves he's been to. There he also shouted because he saw pieces of Toby's genitals that were infested by insects. Then while at her house, Dawn tried to open her textbook covered with stickers because she was actually very curious, and she was shocked when she saw a picture of female genitalia in the book. Then Dawn finds out on the internet about her crotch and she discovers that there is a mythology about her toothed crotch. He was shocked and rushed to the hospital. While in the hospital he consulted a sex doctor. The doctor checked his groin and the doctor immediately padlocked the groin. Dawn can only get sick. Then when the doctor again Ashok padlocked. And how surprised to bring his crotch to bite the finger of his finger. The doctor tried to get his finger out. But what can you do, those fingers have been severed. A terrified Dawn and then left the hospital. When she came home he saw some policemen and she also visited the lake place. She was surprised that there were some detectives or police who were looking for something there. Then he went back to his house. When she came home he was about to find his parents but his mother had already collapsed. When asking for help Brian alias his idiot brother was even more Ashok Burganjodan with his girlfriend and did not care about his mother. Dawn took him to the hospital. When she wakes up from her sleep Dawn is suddenly in her father's arms and her father tells her to go home to rest. When he came home he met his jerk brother, who's crazy in his house with a girl. Then he went to his friend's house who had taken him home. He was also welcomed by Ryan. Dawn then told me about her. Then Dawn takes a shower and Ryan gives her a pill, what the pill is. After bathing Ryan prepared a very romantic room and the puddle persuaded him to stay overnight and then they also danced. In the first round Ryan managed to ramp up Dawn and was not bitten by his crotch. Dawn was surprised that Ryan didn't get it. Dawn believes Ryan is the only man with a hero nickname who can play with him. Then elsewhere, a doctor and detectives are investigating the case of Toby's genital break. When they find a tooth and they also investigate the tooth. The next day, as Ryan was about to play in the second round, he suddenly got a call from a friend. And it turns out that Ryan was betting with his friend, if he could have sex with Dawn where he became the winner. Because of this Dawn also became hurt and upset with Ryan. Then all of a sudden Ryan screamed in pain and Dawn again severed Ryan's genitals. Ryan screamed in pain and tried to stick his severed genitals. While at home it is seen that the father is talking seriously with Brian that the father asked Brian to leave the house because it has made a lot of chaos. They became noisy and at that time the father was also immediately bitten by Brian's dog. Because of the incident the father was immediately taken to the hospital by Brian's girlfriend. Then while in the hospital, Dawn also came there and they also started chatting. Brian's girlfriend told me when her mother fainted screaming Brian didn't care about her and instead told her not to help her. Hearing that story Dawn was sad. Dawn returned home, but at that time she dressed up beautifully and after that she also began to visit Brian and touched Brian's body parts. Brian was very eager to get her in touch. At that time Dawn also immediately invited Brian to him. Then when Ryan was in contact with Dawn, he suddenly became in pain and it was seen that his genitals were also immediately severed. Then Dawn immediately stood up and pulled out the piece of Brian's genitals. At that time the dog also went straight out of his cage and ate pieces of Brian's genitals. Brian could only cry at the time. It ended with Dawn going somewhere. He asked for a ride to one of the cars. When he woke up from his sleep it turned out that in the car there was a battery and the battery stuck out his tongue maybe asked to be boosted times Dawn looked sarcastically at the old geezer and you know what's going to happen. And finally the film ended.